Hey everybody, I'm Erica Carlson with BRIX Real Estate, and I'm here to share the weekly Wright County market update for you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me just a moment. Full of interesting data changes that I want to point out. And when you look down, well, actually look across from the actives to coming soons. And when you first look at it, you see 3 weeks ago, 483, 486, 471. So this is identifying what is currently on the market. However, it doesn't take into account to contingencies. So while those numbers look high, those aren't actually all the houses that are, for sale in some respects, because there's a contingency, or what is called, that's the fancy word for exception. So what types of contingencies do people have? Well, they might be getting an inspection. They might have a house to sell. They might be using some time to review HOA documents, which are allowed to all buyers. Legally, we respect that time and give you time to look over it. So there's just kind of some of the most common examples. So the numbers seem like they're going down, right? So we went from 486 to 471. So it's like, oh, did we hit that peak as buyers and we're out there shopping? And the truth of the matter is that number is deceiving. So I take away the contingencies. So what is actually for availability? So you go 431, 425, and then up to 456. So what I'm telling you is there's more houses to pick from this week than there was the last couple of weeks. In fact, this is quite the high peak time, which of course is not great. If you're trying to sell a house, you might be thinking, darn, now I have more competition or whatnot. And that's true, you would, because there's just more opportunities and more options. In fact, I'm going to take a pause on this screen and shift over to some other interesting data just to give you an idea of how all of this is coming together. So the second most interesting data, as you let your eyes go across the screen to May 17th, you also will notice the numbers the lowest, 3.6. So what does that mean? It means that if you are a seller of a house on the market right now, you're expecting 3 to 4 showings a week. And again, this is for the entire county. So if you have a real estate agent, you would ask them, can you please tell me what it is for my particular city? They're probably similar, but there's going to be nuances between our individual cities, right? So 3 to 4 is this general storyline. And we're looking at it week over week. And so we saw we had many more buyers back on May 3rd than we do on May 17th, which again is very typical, very seasonal. Real estate is extremely seasonal. And so you may think, but it's warm, it's green, we haven't had a lot of rainy days. Where did the buyers go? They always tend to decrease through May into June. And so when you're selling a house, you want to get your house on the market in that March to April time is the most ideal. That's when the most people are thinking about moving. However, people are always thinking about moving. There really isn't a time where people aren't considering a move. You're either considering a move or you're not, and you're not thinking about the weather. It's just kind of the pattern of behavior. And so when you go back to this screen and you say, there's 456 options, in theory, again, somebody'd have to be so flexible to think there's 456. That's every, price point, every type of property. Obviously, nobody has 456 choices. We're speaking in generalities, but then we're seeing this slow decline of the buyer pool going down. And of course, it'll flatline. There will always be people out there shopping for homes. So what you should be hearing me say is, if you've been on the sidelines, you've been waiting, your time has come. You've got that highest amount of inventory, and the amount of buyers out there shopping has decreased. And then I like to compare it to Hennepin County. It's like, are we, in a bubble? Are we doing something different? We are always different. We always trend a little different than Hennepin. Hennepin's at 6.5 or 6 to 7 showings a week. So you can tell if you had a friend, a family member selling a house in Hennepin, they may be feeling a different pacing. They may tell you they have way more showings on their house. And that may be completely true because they're in the metro, and people are generally looking to be closer to the middle of the city. As we consider those things. So 6.5, again, it's declined though. We were at 10.8 a couple of weeks ago. So somebody who's had their house on the market for a few weeks would think, well, I just listed it, so that's why I have had more showings. And as the weeks go on, they expect it to slow down. However, it's also indicative of actually what's happening. So it's not just about your house, which I think is interesting. All right, moving on. TNAS is a thing we can set up as real estate agents to stop showings. It means temporarily not available for showings. And you'll notice there was a little hike in this week, which I think I can explain. Just it's somebody who says they don't want their house on the market. Maybe they're in the middle of negotiating with a party and they're just like, please stop the showings. Maybe they ran into a problem and they need to fix it. And instead of taking the house off the market, again, they pause it, they stop showings, they fix the problem, they put it back on the market. Not meaning that they do all the paperwork and whatnot. Again, they're just, it's like a pause button. Let's stop showings. We can turn it back on. There's a time and a place for this setting. Not all real estate agents use it appropriately. So I don't know if that's another reason why there's been an increase, or again, there's just more houses on the market. So maybe it's just kind of that pause is necessary for whatever reason. Notice pending jumped up this week. That's very predictable. If we had more buyers and we had more opportunities, of course, we have more in pending. And then closings stayed about the same. I would predict as these ones move from pending to close, we'll see an increase, which is another reason sometimes people don't interpret the data correctly. You think about it, these ones in pending, they could have gone in pending last week, a month ago, but they're not closing until June. So it makes it look like houses sell in June. Well, houses close in June. They were listed in April. And so you always have to kind of move the shift back. So let's say we had a lot of closings in March, then that means they probably went under contract in January. Don't know why I can't speak today. All right, so a couple of other things. You'll notice days on market doesn't shift. It's a monthly piece of data, so I can't get it to update any faster than that. If you were selling a house, you would expect 20 to 40 days would be average. Could it sell the first weekend? It could. It just depends on what you're selling, what the price point is, the condition of the house. There's a lot of variables. Work with your real estate agent to get an idea of how fast it would take to sell your house, whether you should be alarmed that it's not selling quicker. The other thing I'd want to point out while I have a chance is some people misread the days on market. Have a lot of people call me about new construction and they'll say, well, they must be desperate. It's been on the market for a year. It hasn't been on the market for a year. It's an illusion. It was a marketing strategy. The builder put the house on the market trying to find somebody who wanted to build the house. It isn't typically even built yet. And even if it's built, again, it doesn't matter that the days on market are there because let's say it's not even finished. So a lot of times people say, oh, they must be desperate. No, they've been trying to find someone to buy it that whole time because they knew they were building it. They had the lot, they had the plan. Don't see that as a negotiation strategy, for lack of better terms. New construction is not the same as a resale house. All right, moving on to the next piece of data here. The absorption rate hasn't changed much. We consistently see that last year it was moving faster. So again, if you keep thinking about your neighbor's house that sold in a weekend or two and yours is sitting on a month or two, it's like, it's just not the same. We're in a seller's market for sure. That's what that data is telling you. It would have to move down to a 4, 5, 6, 7 for us to be in an equal market, meaning kind of fair to both buyers and sellers. It's still profoundly a seller's market. So when you're trying to get your head around these numbers, it's a seller's market. So there might be more choice. It's still a seller's market. That hasn't shifted. We would have to see bigger changes for that to happen. I think I'm going to stop there for this week. I can offer you a market report if you haven't heard me talk to you about this before. This is something I'm offering for free. The best way to utilize it is to go to the link below and then enter a little bit of information about yourself, including how often do you want these reports. We can unsubscribe you at any time. It's not a big deal. The point here is that it's something useful and helpful for you. The people that would be most inclined to want to get this service would be people who are homeowners. And you don't have to be in Wright County to take advantage of this. I think I can actually set it up for anybody everywhere. It's not a big deal. Ideally, we're like a half-mile to 1-mile radius from your personal residence, or if you have an investment property, we can set it up for that as well. I can actually do these for as many properties as you would like. I do set them up for friends that might have like parents or somebody like that where they're kind of helping them out and they need that data as well. It'll tell you active, pending, solds. It'll tell you exactly what your neighbor's house sold for, how long did it take, what did the pictures look like. This eliminates all the research component of you needing to go out on the internet and trying to find this stuff. I think it's actually really helpful. But again, no strings attached. And if you're like, listen, I don't want to give you my address, I understand. You could give a generic one, like like maybe a store nearby. That would be fine. I could use that. Or you could click on the pre-made ones. I have it for Delano, St. Michael, Buffalo, Rockford for sure is already set up. Again, we could just set it up by city. If you told me what you needed, I can make that happen for you. It just requires a little communication between the two of us to get there. My name's Erica Carlson. I really appreciate that you made it to the end of my video this week. If there's any other data that you think would be interesting to talk about, I'd love to include it in my weekly video. I'm just trying to give you what I believe is the most helpful, whether you're a home buyer or home seller. Or just curious about how things work with real estate. My number is below. The link that I also have included brings you to all my social media pages, my personal website where you can start your home search. Again, I appreciate you. See you next week. Thank you.